Good evening to everyone. It's my privilege and honor to be here before you, especially also as being part of Sunita's life and work. It's not just her life, but also work for the last more than 30 years since I've known her. So my reading here is not just book reading. It's more also a narration of or picking out those paragraphs which I feel are very important for us to understand and to continue with our lives. Sunita's journey and what the book tells us about is the searing honesty and the searing transparency that has been core of her life all along. And that is very important for any kind of social change or any kind of transformation we want to bring about. So keeping that in mind, I read through the book and flashes of whatever she has told me time and again, whatever we have shared, everything came back, especially the faces of those many young girls, many children, many girls, many women who have been, I don't say rescued, but who have been, given a new life. And the minute you don't, like Sunita has done, the minute she has not taken, she has not cared for her own life, and she has cared for the lives of many others, it is showing that the number of lives that she has lived all along, and she will continue to live. So it's a privilege, and I will not say more because then I may not be able to do justice to the book, because it's quite emotional to do that. The resonating sentence, and consistently I have been looking at her and her life and her work, and I have been seeing this resilience. No matter how many times you fall, no matter how many times you are hit at, no matter how many times you're attacked, there is that resilience in her to come back ever strong, ever stronger. So not to let trauma take over you. And that is why I would like to read this particular from page 3 or 4. Many of you may not have the book, so please buy the book and read it. But page 3 and 4 talks about this resonating sentence that is, so long as I focused on the pain and trauma of the victims, I risked overlooking their power and resilience. This is such a powerful, in-depth realization, because this gives way for action. If we get bogged down by trauma and pain, which is every day that we see in our work and in our lives, then we will not be able to get into action. So this is a very important realization. I just picked on page 14, and this particular aspect of the para that I picked on was basically her personal and political journey is also there described. I mean, there are so many things that show the evolution of that journey right from the beginning of the book till the end, personal and political. But I just picked up this paragraph because this has been a form of maligning people who do good, or maligning people who are doing something powerful in society. And that is the paragraph about labeling and the damage it does, making the victim of sexual assault as an identity of the person. And the person is no longer known as that person, but as a sexual assault person. I mean, and I think that is what also happened to her. I mean, she did not allow that for her identity to get lost. So making the victim of sexual assault as identity of the person, forgetting about the persona, capabilities and courage that go into making her and others and countless other survivors. And what we want, or what survivors want, is not doling out pity, stigma. That does not empower. And that is what society does most of the time. The page 21 is, I would like to read that because as she says, very simply, but I know what the journey has been, what the struggle has been. But at the end of the day, life is all about choices. And I'm simply the sum total of all the choices that I've made. And what brings change is action. Sunita chose not to be cowed down with anger, assault, hurt, and humiliation, which is very easy to do now. We can get into a hole, we can get into a shell and not do anything. But she instead pledged to fight the survivors, for the survivors for the sex crimes, against sex crimes with her life. Page 74, para. The reason I chose that is it describes Mehendi, the Mehendi Gully in Hyderabad. And it's a special reason why I chose it is because very often movies portray the glamour. You know, like what is that? Gangubai. Portray the glamour as if the entire prostitution is like, it's a glam situation. And therefore, every woman would like to be in it. So, therefore, this paragraph describes Mehendi, the filmy, keeping aside the filmy description, actually it belies the pain and exploitation within. So, when rescue is done from this slavery, very often adjectives have been hurled at her as savior or saving. You know, you have come to save the world. This is the way society puts it. But as Sunita says, all women need to be assessed. Like for every rescue that they undertake, and I'm very tuned into that because very many times we have been engaged in rescues also, otherwise also. So all women need to be assessed for emotional, social and vocational preparedness to survive in mainstream society, which is a big thing because it's not that you just one day get up, rescue and come. And which is the allegation, that here she is going about saving people, rescuing people, all and sundry, without making any plans for their, after that. So then only a phase plan for rescue is executed. The next is, I don't want to read the whole book, so I'll limit it to the next para, is page 132, and especially it is about the safe home. Again, there are allegations about, or assertions that, why do you rehabilitate? What is rehabilitation? And then the allegory is compared to the kind of government-run homes. And then one should not generalize because the government-run homes, okay, yeah, they are in a pitiable state. I wouldn't want to send anyone there to the government-run homes. But it is not that all shelters are the same. And one should look into what are the considerations behind setting up a shelter. Like the protocols that I know the survivors have devised. The survivors, not she alone. The Prajwala and the survivors have devised have been protocols of safe home for themselves, of what they want. What is the kind of safe home that they would be happy with? Because what you need is warmth, what you need is comfort after being through assaults. So about the safe home, she writes very well. A safe home is a necessity for any intervention that aims to end sex crimes and sex trafficking. How we manage these shelters can make or break a life. In fact, it has made many lives, and as the book reveals, how many survivors have come to a place where they are back to mainstream society, even though acceptance still is very difficult in this society. But even then, they have made a life for themselves, and also how it can break the systems that you have set up by people who don't want the shelter to exist. So it is important to understand the pain and the trauma and the difficulties in trying to run a largest community therapy center, a largest safe shelter for lakhs of girls in sexual slavery. In conclusion, the book is a must read. Not as a book, please. It's not something that you can just read and get away by saying, I read this book, claiming notoriety to reading book and being part of a reading club. So it is not to read a book, but it is a must read to sensitize ourselves. We're all caught up in life where we're losing our sensitivity little by little in everyday life. So to sensitize ourselves, how we are responsible for the dehumanizing situation of girls and women in sexual slavery. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, Thanks so much, ma'am, for this honor to be speaking, reading a few passages from ma'am's book. I just want to say what was most outstanding for me with this book, first of all, and then I'll come to the paras. I've been told I'll be given only 5 minutes, but then I'm going to take 8.5 minutes, dot. All right. So what was most outstanding for me in this book was I've seen ma'am's journey for the last 13 years. Some parts of it up and close. And this could have been, with the kind of rich life that she has lived, could have been totally about her. It didn't. It's so much about the cause and more so. And that to me is the most outstanding part of this book. Yeah, and the other thing is that the paragraphs that I've chosen today are from the chapter Why Positions Matter. And I'd like to take 2 minutes and tell you why that was most relevant to me. I have my team members from Swakshetra here and the larger village of supporters for the cause. We've been in the space of rehabilitation of child survivors of sex crimes. And this chapter spoke to me there really strongly. The other thing I must tell you before I get into those paras per se is, in ma'am's life, I mean, like I mentioned, I've seen it up and close. There could have been so many things in this book that could be sensational, that could get into a cult kind of a thing. But I think this book, while being 200% honest, is also very mindful and restrained to the extent of being for the cause. I don't know if I'm making sense. Restrained for the purpose of the cause, and salutes there, ma'am. Takes so much. But this one para, it's to my taste. It's in your face. It's so unapologetic in what it has to say. And this is something that I think all of us who work in rehab, ma'am speaks about, there is some survivor language out here. That is what we've seen for the last 8 years. And I've always wondered, why is it that people don't get this? And don't get me wrong, I'm not placing the bar or the burden of the higher calling on women, no. But I do not get why women don't get this, that if it is not okay for you, it's not okay for anybody. So I've been struggling with those questions, and part of this chapter helped me understand that a little bit. All right, so I also firmly of the opinion that it'll have to be the survivor's voice that will have to override all this noise. It doesn't have to be any side, it just has to be the survivor's voice. And what we've seen in the last 8 years in the Swakshetra work in the rehab space is this very language from our survivors. If you get them time and opportunity to heal, otherwise it's going to be noise. So if you take a position, if you develop a narrative with 2 hours of speaking to a survivor, or maybe 2 hours, 20 times of speaking to multiple survivors, doesn't give you the correct picture. You have to go deep, deep down and let that person heal and then speak their own language, right? So, all right, so in the context of taking positions in the matter of prostitution, ma'am writes, our attitude changes when it is a child. However, thankfully we're outraged, at least the vast majority of us. A few years ago, the head of a child welfare funding foundation asked for my thoughts on condoms for children. His organization's position was that children in prostitution are a reality and that we need to face it. And since they cannot all be rescued, one should consider the possibility of harm reduction strategies. Imagine if more and more join this brigade and they all start looking at harm reduction techniques in a context where younger and younger children are being sold both for online and offline sexual exploitation. There's only so much we should tolerate, and the child for me is the zero tolerance zone. Children are easy targets, and it is imperative that every human society ensures that all our resources are directed towards prevention and protection. There's no time to waste on devising harm reduction strategies. And it's not so much a continuous read, it's the chapter, but I've picked here and there. I remember attending an elite conference in Kolkata of women business leaders. while I received a standing ovation for my speech, there was this accomplished person who started shouting at me. Her concern: if you rehabilitate all these girls, what about the safety of my daughters? If we can pause and look at this thing. It took time for the idea to sink into my thick skull that this woman actually believed that somebody else's daughters should be raped in a brothel so that hers could walk freely on the street. This is pretty much us. In fact, with advanced language skills and better jargon, there are those who legitimize prostitution as women's agency. This emerging way of thinking does not engage with how something that can harm your body, mind, and soul can be a voluntary decision, free of constraints. Such a position has huge support in terms of power and funding, for it can be used to peddle the idea of harm reductions. Traffickers co-opt the idea of women's agency into their agenda. Over time, and with systematic brainwashing, they can easily ensure that a victim begins to believe it is her choice to sell sexual services, even if they got into this business as a child or through coercion. Years of training and indoctrination went into making her believe those lies. Yes, she's an adult now, but does that wipe out all that she suffered as a child? Can those devotees of self-determination declare that a significant number among these pro-choice women in prostitution were not trafficked in the past, and that the present willing choice does them no harm? What angers me so much is that they do not even address these facts when they build their pro-choice narrative. We need more people who can advocate the right kind of thinking. The focus, in my opinion, is to first acknowledge that there could be a significant number of women who are coerced into prostitution or had to take it up due to constrained choices. The word sex worker is not a replacement for the term woman in prostitution. The word prostitution is clearly defined in the law as commercial sexual exploitation, and till date, there is no legal definition adopted in India that explains the word sex worker. Understanding this will ease the multiple layers of tension between the two groups and perhaps even pave the way for a dialogue to see what exit strategies are possible for those who want to move out of sexual exploitation. Just bear with me 3 more paras. I firmly believe that approaches such as self-regulation, as advocated by the sex workers lobby, are unworkable from the criminal justice point of view. The model offered is this: when they know a woman is being coerced into sexual exploitation, they will make all efforts to restore that person back to safety. So here's my simple question: how many criminal cases have they filed against those involved in coercion? Surely the woman did not coerce herself. Are there no other players involved? The abettors? To my knowledge, no such case has been filed anywhere in the country. Let the women in prostitution who are reconciled to their fate continue in that line, but they ought to know and have the choice that if they want to exit, support is well within their reach. I'll end with the survivor speak that I spoke about, and this is what I hope you people can carry before taking a position, people, before building a narrative around this. Can we just explore this one human sentence? In an informal debate with my girls, I was playing the devil's advocate and asked them what was wrong if women and girls chose sex work. It could be informal work, like many people are claiming. Iti Mirza, a soft-spoken girl, asked me quietly, if your own daughter chose it, would you allow her to go? I think that's period. Survivors and survivor articulation are the only real forces that can defeat those who legitimize sex slavery, but it must be an organic evolution. Thanks so much, man. Thanks for this chapter. Thanks for bearing it out to the world and taking such a courageous, unapologetic position. Thanks so much. And you're the unstoppable one, and she's the force behind Swakshatra. I can't take more time.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Geeta ma'am and Bhavna have, told everything, but I'll just share, because normally Sunita doesn't share anything about her work with the family. I remember once she telling me, she won't be remembering, but she said, भैया, हमारी दुनिया और आपकी दुनिया अलग है. अगर आप हमारी दुनिया में आओगे ना, तो आप लोगों पे विश्वास करना छोड़ दोगे, एंड वो अच्छी बात नहीं है. So इसीलिए आप मेरी दुनिया से दूर रहें. तो she doesn't discuss or share anything what she does professionally. So one incident or one real life narrative which I want to share, which I personally went through, is I'll just read it out from Suni's book. When Prajwala was born, one of the first rescues we did was Viju. I had enrolled Viju in a convent school, and that first summer, Sister Warden refused to keep my children in the hostel. All the parents and guardians were asked to take back the wards. I had no idea what to do with this child. During one of my telephone calls with my mother, I casually mentioned that a friend's daughter needed a place to stay for the summer. My mother did not hesitate even for a second and told me to bring her home to Bangalore. And that is how a 6-year-old Viju ended up staying with my parents for that summer. One look at the child and my mom knew there were no parents in the picture. But she did not ask a question. Viju was treated as a grandchild. Today, Viju has completed her MSc in pharmacy. She is married and has a 1-year-old baby. Maybe memories of that summer are part of that, what makes Viju an exception among our children. She is among the minuscule few who has never dissociated her identity from Prajwala's. She not only insisted that her in-laws know about her roots in Prajwala, but also makes sure her child recognizes me as her maternal grandmother. So, when the child had come to Nalini Auntie's place, my aunt, and me and my wife Manju very frequently visit Nalini Auntie. So during that summer vacation, we had met this child 2 or 3 times. And after she left Bangalore, we had no news about her. We didn't know anything about her. So, but when I read this book, and when I came to this page, then I was so happy to know that the child is doing so well, and my wife also felt good about it because she had interacted with the child. So, that's it. Thank you, Suni, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
But let us just take us all through the rescue in the bylanes of Majestic with Lakshmi as your friend and how it shaped your journey. How did it shape your journey when you began this entire work? Tell us about it.
Thank you, Mahua. Before I start, I want to acknowledge my family, my mom, my brother, my elder sister, my nieces, my cousin brother, family, and everybody, all my friends, supporters who are here. Thank you so much. You have humbled me by your presence this evening. It's a momentous occasion for me, bringing an autobiography and bearing my soul. Thank you so much to each one of you all for being here this evening. The kind of question you were asked, Mahua, I really don't have an answer for that. Because I never kind of really put in myself deeply into understanding why I did or how I did it. I just did. I took a decision at one point that I'll do this, and then I just did, one by one, one by one, one by one. The first rescue that I did was something I was compelled to do. It was here, right here in Bangalore city, in Majestic, and I was 17. And I was frequenting this place where a lot of prostitution happens, right opposite to Bangalore railway station, and trying to befriend the women and constantly being rebuked by them in terms of, why are you coming here? And, I'm 4'6" now, and slightly at least better built now, but at that time I was a puny, scarecrow-looking kind of creature. So they were kind of constantly saying, why is she coming again and again? And one day, when I came, people came running to me and said, you've been asking so many times that you want to do something. Come. And then they took me to this room, a lodge. There are several lodges on Majestic Road. So there was this little girl sitting there. And they said, she's come here. Now do something for her. And for me, it was strange. I didn't know what to do. I wanted to do, but I didn't know what to do. But I didn't want to tell them that I don't know what to do. And I had some prior experience working with special children. And something about that child made me understand that she was a special child too. So I asked these women to leave, and then I started speaking to her, conversing to her, and then I found out that she was from the outskirts of Bangalore, and she was brought here. Whether a customer raped her or not, we don't know. She was molested, definitely. Somebody had put some 50 rupees in her blouse and also gone. And she could give me some understanding about where she came from. At the age of 17, I had no clue now what next, you know. I had no prior experience. I had no clarity in what am I supposed to do with a special child? Where am I supposed to take? And I remember, you know, telling these women with confidence that I'll take care, don't worry. And they also believed me, and I don't know why they believed me. And coming back in the bus, and I was thinking, what am I supposed to be doing? And I remembered this wonderful gentleman who's my father's superior in the office. Very coincidentally, he's here this evening in this same hall, Rajshekharan. Rajshekhar, can you please stand up? Rajshekhar was my father's superior, and we were good friends, and I thought I will ask him for a vehicle. It still mystifies me why Rajshekhar didn't ask me for what is this. I told him there's a problem, I need to take a child somewhere. And he gave me an official vehicle and helped me find the transport. Next day I went back, met these women, and told them that I'm going to take this girl. And they also came in. So the long and short of the story was we took them back, took the girl back. And it turned out to be that it was a conspiracy by the uncle to push the child off. And some trafficker had seen the child on the highway and sold her into Majestic area. And she was rescued. So this whole incident was the start of my journey. And I would say I was very lucky. I, unlike many other people who experienced a lot of resistance in the first rescue, I didn't. In fact, that first rescue taught me the beauty of these women who were inside. For me, till that time, they were, you know, women who were selling sexual services, devoid of any humanity, just attracting customers, drinking, spitting pan on my face or something like that, you know. That particular incident showed me what amazingly generous, what great human spirit they had, because they stood there for that child. And, you know, they made up the story. No, this girl came into this colony, we work there, this madam is the one who took care, and things like that. So that's how my rescue began. Many years later, I have rescued thousands of girls. I've rescued more than 28,600 girls in my lifetime. But the beauty of that first rescue continues to give me a lot of strength.
So I want to ask you about the social stigmas that are associated, you know, with this profession. So in so many years of your work, it would be wonderful for us to understand and hear from you. How would you explain this to us? What are the kind of stigmas that they face? Because for an everyday person, we kind of don't understand the world that they are in. So tell us about that.
How do I explain that? Let me give you a recent example. A little girl, 11-year-old, she was sold, and for 6 years she was in a brothel. At the age of 16, we rescued her. She came to me at the age of 16. She wrote her open school, completed her 10th standard. By this time, we knew that she is HIV positive. She completed her open inter, and then she chose to do bachelor's in social work. And the reason why she chose to do bachelor's in social work is because, you know, I keep talking about gratitude to my children. I said, whatever we get, we need to be grateful for the life that we are getting, because I believe gratitude is the only thing that, keeps your head on your shoulder and makes you see the beauty of world and life, So she came to me and she said, I want to join the mission, and that is why I'm doing BSW. She's in her second year BSW, and now she's sinking. She's got her opportunistic infections, and I don't think she will survive the next 15 days. What is, for me, damning is her only last wish, that she wants to say sorry to her parents. At the age of 11, she eloped with a boy. Her guilt that she eloped with a boy is so heavy. She said, before I die, I want to say sorry to my parents for the wrong I did on them. And for the last 6 days, every day, if you check my phone right now, there are at least 4 calls that I make to this family, begging them, practically begging them, offering them money, offering them transport, doing everything. Come once, see the child. And the father tells me, हमने तो पिंडदान कर दिया है. For her, the daughter is dead. That is how deep-rooted stigma is. Stigma is family rejection. Stigma is social rejection. At every step, stigma is constantly being, watched. That, oh, you come from this background, A very important hotel took some of her girls, as housekeeping staff. And one day, this HR manager calls me up and says, Sunita, can you please counsel your girls? I said, what happened? Something went wrong. No, this one girl is talking to all the men a lot. So I said, is there a problem? Something happened. Did she do any inappropriate behavior for which you're concerned? No, these people are coming from this background, right? And that's when I realized even telling some, hospitality industry at the senior management level that this is the background could end up for that person being continuously being, monitored there, that if she even talks to some man, it would be like, oh, is she soliciting? I have had a situation where my child, who was 6 when I rescued her from a brothel, and studied with us, lived with us for more than 15 years, now works in a big-time place, who told me on my face, if you come to our hotel, please don't say hello to me. If people come to know about my background, where I come from, and what is background? Background is Prajwala. We are not even telling another story. If you say that you're from Prajwala, you could mean A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and then everybody will look down upon. That is what stigma. Stigma is exclusion in employment. Stigma is exclusion, emotional exclusion, psychological exclusion, and constantly made to feel that something is really wrong with you, and something is not okay. You're not part of us, And that is why one of the major things that Prajwala does is help people to accept rejection and make them understand if whatever the bloody world thinks about you, don't care a damn about it. You are the only certifying authority for yourself. Care a balls about what the world think about. It's a big part of our therapeutic process.
But that must be so difficult because
it is difficult, but
yes.
Not impossible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Share with us an example about how.
Are we going to make this conversation very so heavy?
No.
Because I can see
I've
everybody
got some
like.
questions about what is it that you eat also.
Good. I eat a lot.
To get the resilience.
Yes.
So let's just talk a little bit about Sadbhavna, which later helped you start Prajwala.
Yeah.
What were your key experiences, in understanding the human psyche, because you work directly, and all these social contracts that you've gone ahead in the initial start of your work.
Everything that happened in my life and every association that I formed, I think was my building block to to become what I am today, and in terms of helping me, the good, bad, ugly, everything. Sadbhavna was one great experience that I had when I was in college, where I became a founding member of setting up a group that worked in the rural areas. It taught me several things. What transparency means, what financial management means, what, what do you call it? Never to overpromise, practically design programs that you can deliver, never show the sun, moon, and the star to the people and kind of disappoint and fail in their faith, that kind of thing. So Sadbhavna was an extraordinary experience with some very extraordinary human beings who all joined me in this, or rather I joined them in the thing. But a lot of what the kind of financial protocols and governance and transparency that is there in Prajwala today, I think stems from that experience from Sadbhavna. I clearly knew that this is what I will not do. So if there are some things that I learned on what all I should not do, I learned it from here. And also what all I should be doing. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about these lifelong relationships that you've been able to nurture with all the work. We need you to tell.
One is here, Geeta.
Yes, I could see.
Yes, there are several actually. Rajshekharan is here, lifelong journeys. I think, I think if there is a human being who has been so blessed, I would consider me on top of that list, because I think I'm the most blessed person, because every single step of my life, I met the right people, starting from my parents, my mom, my dad, who's no more, who kind of became the reason for several things that I did later. But then every stage in my life, I met friends. I don't know, Shobha is here. I don't think Shobha is here. I self-educated myself, and Shobha was one person who ensured financially, although I worked, I did a lot of work when I was studying, she kind of came forward to keep giving me small amounts. Geeta had ensured that I had enough clothes for I don't know how many years. I chose to live, that's my choice. It was nobody asked me to do it. I chose to live in a slum. I chose to experience and live in poverty. I chose to live in a small shanty with just 5 feet in 5 feet space. I chose to live frugally, but I live like a queen, thanks to my lifelong friends. I don't think I was denied anything in my life. Till then to now, I'm a full-time volunteer, Moyua. Then to now, I've not taken one rupee from my organization till date. But if you see me, do you see any trace of poverty? Diamond nose ring, pearls in my ears. Thanks to all my lifelong friends who spoil me, cherish me, nurture me. I think I'm a born queen,
Yes, that's for sure. So I don't know if how many people really know this, that as an activist in Bangalore, it's been so eventful. You've also actually had a journey behind bars. Yeah. And a lot of stress for your parents, So as you look back on it, what do you think you could have done differently?
Nothing. I think, in retrospect, everything was happened at the right time, right people, right space. It was created so that I could learn my lessons. Thanks to the fact that I went to the jail. Thanks to the fact that...
We need to hear about this.
No, it's, I'm so grateful for that space, because you don't understand indignity till you don't experience indignity. Meaning, you have to experience being called by number. You have to experience being shoved with a plate, move. You have to experience what it means when a bucket full of water is kept. They call it dal. And then you actually take out the water, and then you take the dal that is down there. You have to experience all that. And you have to constantly experience that how you're looked at as like, you're in the jail, so you must have done some grievous crime kind of thing. Only then you understand what it means to be, looked down upon, marginalized, thrown out, I remember when I went to the jail, my employer at that time in Bangalore actually gave a public advertisement disowning me, saying that she is... I understood then what that disowning means. I also understood, as an under trial, you're not given clothes to wear. It's only a convict who gets clothes, the uniform. Under trials they wear. I didn't have any clothes because after the protest, I went with all my paint into the jail. So for days together, I had nothing to change. So this kurta, the same, this is the costume, but now I have a Modi coat also to support the costume. But sleeping in the night with nothing on you so that you can wash this and wear it next day morning, it's an experience. So all those experiences today add up to the way I run my therapeutic community. Knowing what should not be done gives you the understanding what should be done, how it should be done. So if you enter my space, any girl who comes any time in the night, the first thing is she is welcome with an arati. Even if it's 1 o'clock night, she's welcomed with an arati, And she's gifted a whole welcome kit, with clothes. And we don't take used clothes. We don't take second-hand clothes. We don't take old clothes. Brand new dresses, bedsheet, chappal, hair remover, Fair and Lovely cream, toothpaste, chappal, everything, Because, just going and asking, I want this, I want that, itself is so indignifying, especially when you are already so scared. You don't know what is happening to you. You're pushed in a situation where you are like completely not able to figure out what next in my life. Just want to acknowledge my Hindi teacher from school, Mr. Nair. Nair sir, thank you so much for coming. And Nair sir and I have a 45-year-old association. He's one individual who is responsible for my love for Hindi language. Thank you, sir, for being here.
You speak very articulately about the birth of Prajwala, the eternal flame in your book. The initiation and the initial years both had a fill of betrayals. There have been plans that have gone awry, lack of resources. So can you walk us through a little bit of that part of the journey? Because there would be so many people who would want to embark, but everyone's frightened about the lack of resources in work like this.
I don't know how to answer that, Mahua. Sex trafficking is an organized crime. It's a fastest growing criminal enterprise in the world. It's few billion-dollar industry, meaning hundreds of billion-dollar industry. Anybody who enters that space to fight that, you don't expect you will be garlanded, right? So I don't know why I should answer that question, because getting beaten up, getting physically assaulted is the end thing that you're asking when you enter this space. When you fighting a revenue-driven industry, obviously your revenues, should match them. You don't have it. So you struggle for that. So struggle is part of this choice that one makes. So I don't want to make big out of the struggle that, I would rather say that what helps to cope up with the struggle is to be focused on why you're doing this, and what you need to be doing this. But if you're entering here to make, thinking that everything is going to be hunky-dory and there will not be any struggle, yes, there will be struggle. This is a financially intensive space. every child that I rescue, 1 out of 2 is HIV positive. So definitely HIV positive means more money for healthcare. So struggle is part of this choice. And that's why I don't want to make too big about the struggle. If you want to enter the space, come prepared to face the struggle. I have faced it, and not as a struggle. I faced it as an opportunity to move to the next step. In fact, the first time that I was beaten up was a very interesting session with the wonderful, how do I call them? I don't want to call them gundas and label them, but yeah, wonderful set of physically active men who decided they wanted to break my nose. They broke my ears, and I was bleeding profusely. Nose, ears, they hit my back, they hit my leg. Now at 52, all that problem is coming with, collateral damage of the past is haunting me now. But at that time, I was only smiling. And I was so happy that finally I got beaten up. And for me it was, in my mind, that was a verifiable indicator I had kept. If I really hit the mafia, they should hit me back. If they don't hit me back, then I'm not hitting them enough. So till I don't get hit, I will not believe I'm doing the right thing. So every struggle is my verifiable indicator that if I'm doing that, this is what I'm going to face. If that didn't happen, then I'm really thinking, have I really done it right? So meaning I've not rattled these people enough. So let me take it a little more far and rattle them enough.
So there was also another arrest warrant for electricity pilfering. How did Joe and your support system help you during these?
That was, I didn't do it, please. I was trapped. Yeah, it was a very interesting situation because I think that was the only time in my life where I kept running so that nobody will arrest me. Because my people ended up stealing electricity because the traffickers convinced them that if you don't steal everybody's livelihood. I used to run a small plastic factory, and that was my first startup. That's a new word, right? That's the in word now. So we started this plastic toy making unit, dolls and balls, and I used to be every day personally carrying these dolls and balls and go and stand in a place called as Begum Bazaar on the street to sell these everyday sales. So Chandrababu Naidu Garu had suddenly taken a decision that everybody in the old city of Hyderabad, and power stealing in old city of Hyderabad is a norm. Like you do it because you have to do it. That's it. Otherwise, you can't be sitting in the old city of Hyderabad. Go and stay in the new city if you're a law-abiding citizen and all that stuff. So he decided to clean up old city and gave this wonderful IS officer, Rachel Chatterjee ma'am, the responsibility of catching everybody who is, stealing current. And doing something like that in the old city means huge riot-like situation. So I think RAF and everybody were deployed for this purpose. So every day, some Hazar people were getting caught and all this drama was happening. So there were constant current cuts. And this machine, that's a plastic toy making machine that we have, it's a molding machine that requires current, So the work was stopping again and again, and it is through this that 8 people were employed there. So the traffickers found this as a great opportunity to fix us. So they came and convinced my fellows कि मैडम को पता नहीं चलेगा, आप मार लो, ठीक है? And they did it. And they did it for 10 long days. Nobody caught them. 11th day, they were caught. And by the time I came into the scene, my entire unit was sealed. And an arrest warrant was issued in my name. And that was the longest 18 days where I ran and ran and ran till finally IPS officer who was heading the electricity board, I went and surrendered before him, thinking that, okay, now one more jail nivas, and then I told him my story, and then he says, no, what you have done is wrong, pay up. pay up the fine, and yeah, so yeah, I've been party to some illegal stuffs too that way.
So let's just talk a little bit about rescuing abused innocent children and young adult women who've been systematically exploited.
You know,
there are
Mawa,
very
I'm
different
getting really
challenges.
feeling heavy. Yeah.
Yeah?
It's just too much, no? Aren't you guys feeling so heavy? It's only about exploitation, abuse and all. नहीं? अच्छा, ठीक है. Mawa, continue. Popular choice. You know?
Thank you so much. So, rescuing abused innocent children and young adult women who've been systematically exploited are very different challenges. So, how did you approach these very seemingly intersectional problems, but eventually they're almost alike? So, how did you deal with young children and young adult women? Because there are many women who think that it is okay, to have some sort of an income out of this.
Let me understand your question. Are you asking about how I found my positioning?
Yes.
Or are you asking me how I deal with
How
women?
do you deal with them?
Deal with the positioning or deal with the women?
Deal with the women and the positioning, both. We'd love to hear that from you.
See, I survived gang rape, so I understand pain, I understand rejection, but I did not understand normalization. So that was the first thing I had to confront. A young child of 14 or 15 who has been in prostitution for 2 years already believes that it is okay to sell your body. Already believes that, this is my life, and also says something like, I'm doing it by my choice. And is resisting me at every point. I remember this girl, it was Budhwarpet red light area in Pune. We entered the brothel. We had clear intel, we had clear information. It's a 14-year-old child. She fought me tooth and nail. She slapped me, spitted on my face, took a slipper and hit on us. अपनी मर्जी से आई हूँ, आप मेरे पीछे क्यों पड़े हो? For me, it was a big learning to understand and kind of demythify and break the layers of how a human being who's constantly kept in slavery, and especially sexual slavery, starts normalizing that experience of being enslaved, starts believing that getting raped 10 times a day, 15 times a day by 10 different kinds of people is okay, and that it is okay to have some cigarette on your chest, or somebody putting a blade on your body, or somebody taking a belt. In fact, I asked this child, this girl, much later, because I could see all marks on her body, and she would say, paisa diya na, to karna padega hame ye. So for me, that was a big struggle to understand this normalization and to crack that normalization. Because, see, when you're doing a rescue, you want to feel like a hero, right? You want to feel like, oh my God, I did such a great thing, You're feeling like a zero. So it's like when you crash down to patal, ki here is a person whom I'm trying to pull out from a person, and this person is saying, I don't need you. And not only in the brothel, when you come to my shelter also, you have been indoctrinated there to say, ki come on, as soon as you reach there, run away from there. Create ruckus there, shout at them, scream at them, abuse at them. It was quite a lot of, unlearning that I had to do. That the people whom I'm thinking that I'm pulling out of a space of exploitation do not believe that they are in a space of exploitation. They look at me as a violator. They look at me as somebody who's infringing on their rights, and they accuse me of taking away from the revenue they were supposedly going to get tomorrow or day after or some years later. So dealing with that kind of thing, both children and adults. And also then, first you deal with their hostility, and then you deal with a whole basket of health crisis, health issues that they carry, sexually transmitted infection, cervical damages, reproductive tract infection, traumatic brain injuries. One girl told us that every day she will get to 3 customers at least who will bang her head on the bedpost, dam, 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 And that is, for that he will give 100 rupees extra. You have so much of head injuries which is not treated. So TBI is something. And then you have alcohol, you have substance abuse, and then the mother of all things, you have HIV positive. So you deal with this hostility and then slowly, support her to see where she was in. And then we find out that she's HIV positive. Everything that you've done, third goes down. And she starts asking you, why did you bring me out of that hell to another hell here? If I had nothing to live for, why are you? And then again, one more circle. No, you have many years to live for. ART drugs are there, that is there, this is there. So working with either children or adults is not a magic show. Rehabilitation is not a magic show. It's not like I remove 4 people from here, brothel, and then I bring them to a safe home. Oh, lo and behold, everything. No. It is about dealing with their baggages, their ghosts, their demons. It is also outside dealing with a whole lot of people who are throwing stones at you because you have destroyed their revenue. And then there is another third party. There are 3 triangular series going on. Children, girls, women, inside the shelter. No, we don't want you to be there. And then one set there. Why are you keeping them there? Give them back to us. I'm the mother, I'm the father. Why are you keeping custody battles? Traffickers, mafia. Then there is a third group. Very intellectually savvy, liberal, blah, blah, blah. She's doing human rights violation. She's keeping them incarcerated. And what all she's doing. You have to, all this is happening simultaneously. So it is a kind of a very adventurous life that I lead. I don't think I have one boring day in my life. Every day is super fun at every level.
So you've traveled also in the bylanes and, in Europe and everywhere.
Yeah.
And so let's just talk a little bit about the legalization because it is legal today and one can't deny that the harassment of prostitutes on roads when they stand, there are constant harassment by the cops, by the rest of them. So anybody who's aware today that they will not get arrested for doing this work, don't you think legalizing of this would help them? I would like your point of view on this.
Better apologetically. I visited a lot of countries, and I may not have seen the Statue of Liberty, but I have seen practically all the brothels in New York. One of my favorite pastime when I travel abroad is to spend a lot of time where brothels exist. So I've lived in Mustang Ranch in Nevada. I've frequented all the brothels in Amsterdam, in Germany, and Victoria, everywhere. That's my favorite tourist thing that I do as a matter of choice. One of the things that I saw in my journey, and maybe I have a blinkered vision, maybe my lens from which I'm seeing is very biased, but one of the things that I saw, what legalization brings on the table is beautiful, sanitized environment. You go to any brothel in Amsterdam. Wow. So clean, so neat. They give you a menu card. You want to put cigar, which size? Full size cigars. You want to whip a person, full types of whips, different types. You want to handcuff a person, full type of it. So whatever you get in a very sanitized environment. The person who's inside that brothel, does anything change for her? My interaction, nothing. So whether it's a woman in Amsterdam or a woman in Kamatipura or GB Road or Baina or Bangalore or wherever, at the core of it, nothing changes. The pain, the shame, the humiliation, the need to hide, the sense of, nothing about me matters is something that I have seen across the world. But again, it is from my lens. Another person may define all this in a different way. I believe legalization is legitimizing rape, legitimizing sexual slavery. You've been doing it for thousands of years in your country. You call them Ganikas, you call them Devadasis. You created this entire system where you said libido, satisfaction of the so-called overwhelming male libido is a must. And so must because if you don't do it, on the street, women and children will get raped. That is how I was blasted in your state, in Kolkata. Auntie came, she shouted at me, she said, how dare you? But that shouting, I've got it from many people, It is a whole patriarchal commodification of a woman, which believes that woman's body has to be given for, satisfaction of living. And for me, legalization is a legitimization of that thought process. And that is where I come as a stand. And I say, no, I don't endorse that. And I will do everything possible within my limited power. I'm just a 4 feet 6 inches woman. So within my limited height range, I will do everything possible to prove that this is sexual slavery. And I will try to change it by creating options and alternatives per person. Respectfully, I understand there are people who believe otherwise, each to their own.
There was a very... I almost choked when I read about those years at...
This is the most heavy interview, Mahua, I've had. I am getting a headache. I don't know about you all. How much are you people handling, yeah?
We're learning a lot.
Yeah, okay. Mahua, continue.
So your experience with Shaheen made you question God, and you are a spiritual person. So tell us a little bit about how was it that, this entire thought process of yours after, I was reading about Shaheen and it's unbelievable. It just shakes your core.
Shaheen is in the police force now. She's going to be a head constable next week. It is her life when they found her next to a railway track with her intestines out, gang raped by her father and his friends, where I first time questioned this so-called powerful, benevolent God up there. How unfair. Why is he sitting, him or her, whomever you want to give? How can that person sit there and watch something like this happening here? And I remember that day also. If God had just come here, I would have just strangled and killed. That's it. But over a period of time, I realized in so many ways that God is not looking the other way. God is not just merciful and compassionate, but sees everything. Because if he had not seen all this, why would that constable call me? Why would I go without thinking twice, running to save some stranger child? Why would so many things, so many people, Bhavna here, Geeta here, so many of my colleagues here, risk their neck out to change the lives of people there? There's somebody there. But I also, over a period of time, realized that whatever I'm doing, it's not my own thinking. There's something which is guiding me. There's something that is taking me forward. And it took me a while to realize that. It took me a while to surrender myself to that force, fully, completely, and being led on. And that is why I live for the moment. I am not very enamored about tomorrow. I'm enamored about today, this minute. Because I've seen how that force has guided me, taken me through what you call it a struggle. I don't call it a struggle. Several instances in life taught me, made me see that there's light there. Made me see that you don't need to see the darker side of it. You can actually see the light that is coming out of this, you know. There's somebody who's telling me that, right? And I'm following that light. And thanks to that force, I'm not bitter. I'm not angry. I'm not disappointed, frustrated, you know. I am filled with hope. And the anger that consumes me is not retarding me. It is driving me forward to do more, you know. I don't think I am having my personal capacities for doing all of that. So I'm thinking somebody up there is what is making all that happen.
So writing an autobiographical book is a very daunting task. And in the preface, you've written about how you had to really delve deep. And we have one more question, that what does Sunita eat every morning to continue this indomitable will?
I eat idli dosa. I love what I make. I am a hardcore cook. I love cooking ethnically, and I'm a great foodie. Not that I eat so much, but I eat masala puri is my favorite.
Would you be recommending some
in Bangalore,
nuts?
I come to eat only masala puri in Bangalore. That's my everyday demand to my brother. And his bad influence wife is sitting there, who is very sterilized and I don't know what. So constantly giving gyan on, oh, you should not eat bandi masala puri and all that stuff. So I have some very bad people in my house who discourage me from having a lot of fun and think. Yeah, I eat everything. Bhai. What did you think that I should be eating?
I
Meaning,
thought lots of nuts in the morning.
Is there some menu for mad people like me?
So yeah, thank you so much, and we'd like to open the floor for questions. So, yes.
Thank you, ma'am. I mean, it has been an experience to listen to you, and which obviously I think I speak behalf of everyone that we feel blessed to have interacted with you, met you, and heard you. Can you narrate any one particular example? It's over now.
Never had any such experience. I've been attacked 17 times in my life. I faced an acid attack. Never. But there's one particular incident related to an acid attack, which kind of shook me a little bit. I was standing on the top of my office. There was this gentleman coming the stairs. He had something in his hand like this. I was just watching him. He was also watching me, and he was coming up and came to the eye level when I was there, and I don't know what happened. He slipped and fell. He had a bottle in his hand. It was filled with acid, and the entire acid fell on him. I had no clue that was acid. I was thinking he had a fit or something, and he was screaming. So I rushed, took him in my gadi to the hospital, nearby hospital. And I took him inside, admitted him in emergency. He was just leaving. He caught hold of my hand and he said, "Madam, ये acid आपके लिए था." That took a little while to sink, that somebody had come to throw acid on my face. When I came out of the emergency, Osmania General Hospital, it sunk thamar into me. Just imagine the damn acid on my face. Getting killed, no problem, yaar. Bullet, some honorable thing. Disfiguring, surgery, where will I get the money? You know, so many thoughts. See, being a volunteer is a very romantic thing to say. But we don't have money to pay for our bills and all that stuff, you know. The first thing that came into my mind was, if this acid had fallen on my face, I would have had at least 20, 25 corrective surgeries, including plastic surgery. How am I going to manage it? That is it. I just bowed down and thanked Lord Balaji. That's what I do. And then went running to Tirupati and gave up my hair. Thank you, sir, for saving me from paying. That was the only time that an attack shook me, in terms of otherwise. As I said before to Mahua, every attack was always, in my dictionary of things, a performance indicator. Like when you do a project proposal, you do many of you all are from social work background here? Any of you all? So you do logical framework, you do performance matrix, every activity you give verifiable indicators. Okay, you're doing education program, then this is what you will know. If you put a child in school, child has to pass. That's the report card is my verifiable indicators were attacks and things like that. So never did I think that this is the end of it. I'm not denying there have been moments where I have kind of got stuck in asking why are everybody hitting me? Why can't they see the truth in what I'm doing? Especially when there is large-scale conspiracy to wipe you out. People pay money to get articles written about you in international magazines and all that stuff. You're wondering, why are they doing this? Those are moments where you feel, am I not conveying it rightly outside? Is my articulation a problem? Am I not giving the right kind of message? But never, this is the end, I can't do it. No. I hope a day comes when my end will come. Naturally, I'm not going to be alive for 100 years. But I hope when the end comes, and my last breath comes, it will be fighting for this cause in the right way and ensuring certain systems are in place. Vandana ji, my friend from... Somebody can pass on the mic. Mahua, can I give you a mic? I just have to tell you, thanks to my physically strong friends in the mafia world, they have destroyed my ear. I can't hear from one ear. So please use the mic when you ask the question.
Yeah, so first of all, hats off. I'm always your biggest fan out here. Two things. One thing is, like I said, I run a women cab company and we drive children to schools, tuitions, and I've been a person of abuse myself, child abuse, and that's what I feel when today I have a setup like this, I'm healing myself. And the women working with me obviously have been through abuse, whether reported, unreported, but it's their healing. So first of all, I'd like to tie up with you and give a safe place for women to work with me.
Thank you.
Okay? Training, wearing, everything we will sponsor. That's not a problem at all. The other thing that I wanted to speak to you about was, when you rescue women from the sexual trade, if I would call it, how many times do women go back? Because I've talked to some women, I've talked to some more organizations who are in this rescue thing, because I want to give them a safe place to work, but then they also tell me that the money pull from there is so high that you don't know when she moves back. So is that a reality? Is that imagination? What's your experience been?
When I started Vandana 30 years back, if I rescue 10 women, 8 would go back.
Okay.
Today, when I rescue 10 women, 8 stay back, 2 still go back. I still not cracked how we can ensure 100% results, so I'm not 100% successful. I fail in 2 cases even today. Lot of combination of factors that pushes a woman back to the same space. Sometimes it's a Stockholm syndrome, where the woman is so attached to her abuser that she wants to go back to the same space. There's no money. That's a misnomer. There's also sometimes compulsion. And those compulsions could be a content that is being created while she was being used by a customer, which becomes a permanent content that can be used to pull her back. Several permutation and combinations. There's one woman who said that no matter what you do, I'm not going to change. Just allow me there. And 6 months later, she calls me up from Nagpur and says, Madam, मैं तो बदली नहीं, लेकिन यहाँ पे 10 साल की बच्ची को लाए हैं. Can you rescue? So I really don't know whether I changed her, not changed her, because today she's my biggest informer. Any rescue, Nagpur, Chandrapur, Vani, she's the one who's giving me information. So should I take it that she didn't change? Should I take it as there was some change? I don't know. It's a complicated layer. We are continuously experimenting to understand how to crack and ensure 100% result. As of now, we don't have it. And there is not one single factor that would answer that. Yeah.
Given the existence of so much misery and suffering of innocent people, how do you reconcile that with faith in a loving God who you're saying is all powerful and kind and is watching everything? So how do you reconcile the existence of so much misery of innocent people suffering with your faith in a loving God?
The fact that I exist
So how
and
does the
people
God
like me exist who
Sure.
want to change that
but
is
I agree. But then why, in your opinion, why do you think God allows this to happen?
that's what was my question.
And what was your answer
That
then?
was my question, and I don't have the answer. I only know that the human frailty for greed, for power, control, that comes from abusing and subjecting somebody to violence is a reality. That is what is human. But what is godly are human beings who choose to change that. Not just me, but every other human being in this world who's trying to bring a difference. Each one of them are struggling to fight this greed, to fight this dehumanizing trait in a human being, Each of them who try to bring the change, for me, is that God experience and God realization. Whether they see it or not, I don't know. I see it in them. I'm not that philosophic at all. I'm actually philosophically zero.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for writing the book. And thank you, Geeta, for ensuring I'm here.
Do I see you? Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So among all the cases, the child rescues you've done, can you tell us one or two cases where you came across gifted children with exceptional talent? And
all my children are gifted.
Yeah, I know that. That's
all
apart,
of them.
Apart
Some of
from
them
that,
are doctors, engineers,
Like-
chartered accountants.
Correct.
Yes, meaning there's not a single
No, somebody who stood out with, even normally doctors, engineers, even among them prodigies or some very exceptionally.
For me, everybody, it's you're asking the wrong person. I'm that mother who's proud of all my children. So everybody is exceptional. See, for me, the exceptional comes from the fact that I know from where they started their journey. I know what happened to them before I came in their life. And I know what it means to them to, overcome all of that, smile, trust in humanity again, believe in hope, believe in life, and believe in a future. And say, okay, I'll get educated. Tomorrow I'll become That just saying that I'm educated, to me is something like I got the Nobel Peace Prize that day. Forget, saying all that. Just a smile on their damn face can make my life. So I don't think I can single out an exceptional case because every human being in their uniqueness has been exceptional to me. There are some exceptional stories of this young girl whose mother sold her. 3 daughters. Mother had she's a burn survivor, and she couldn't work, so she put her older daughter into prostitution. Child was 12, and there are children thereafter 7 and 8. That girl was in prostitution for 1 year, 1 whole year, and every day she was catering to around 20 customers. So you can imagine at the end of 365 days, how many people have used her. When she started healing, she did her open 10th directly. She did her open inter, was college topper with regular students, and right now she's a chartered accountant. Exceptional story of courage, gumption, I don't know what all, meaning you have to see that to experience that. So each of them are that kind of stories. Just the fact that they start trusting somebody like me itself is exceptional, because, all of us go through so many things and we're constantly finding reasons and excuses to feel bad, to say how life is miserable, how everything is bad. These children have all the reasons for that. One of the greatest exceptional story that I can tell you is when Kerala was flooded, my young girls who are trained as carpenters and welders came as one big gang and said, "Madam, we have to go to Kerala, hum Kerala jayenge, and we will restore and reconstruct the houses." They reconstructed 3,000 houses in Alapi district. It is, I don't even, I think the word exceptional also they can't describe what I feel for what they do. I think the generosity of the spirit that I see in my children and my girls is the most, miracle that I experience every day in my life.
Okay, if at all anyone wants to adopt your children, do you facilitate it? That
No,
is one
ma'am.
question.
I'm not. I'm not authorized to give any child through adoption. There are CARA guidelines. You'll have to go through Women and Child Welfare Department.
At least do you face some help, some guidance do you provide?
You can support our children in all ways by providing them education or coming.
I know a couple, they want to adopt. They're very
We
serious.
don't give, ma'am. We don't.
Okay, next my another question is, I know a teacher. I came to know that he is abusing some boys, young boys. As he is a teacher, he has got access to boys, small boys who don't know anything. They were being exploited. Whether how to actually to bring that teacher into.
If you know it, ma'am, you're mandated by the law. As per the POCSO Act, you should immediately inform the authorities if any child is being sexually abused. And if we come to know as citizens, we are mandated to report immediately. The best way to report, ma'am, is to call 1098-1098 and inform them. It's called as Childline. Inform them there is somebody, a perpetrator of this kind, an offender of this kind, who is abusing children. Please inform. There are wonderful people like Bhavna. Where is Bhavna? Bhavna has disappeared. There is Geeta here. Please, they are all people in Bangalore. I'm not in Bangalore. Please give me the information. I will ensure that Uncle Ji is inside the bars for whatever he is doing. That will be my personal responsibility, ma'am. Yes.
Thank you so much. I think we all need to give Sunita a standing ovation.